Hello. I'm Bretton, one of our MCAT tutors here at Inspira Advantage, where we help students get into medical school and other professional programs. Today, we're going to talk about homeostasis with a special emphasis on thermoregulation, a absolutely crucial topic for the MCAT. You are going to run into homeostasis questions on nearly all sections of the MCAT, and as a future doctor, it's really important to know. For a long time, trying to reestablish homeostasis was the only thing medicine could really do. Luckily, we've moved beyond that now. Homeostasis represents the body's ability to maintain stable internal conditions despite external environmental changes. Thermoregulation is a critical aspect of homeostasis. It involves complex physiological mechanisms that allow the body to maintain its core temperature within a narrow optimal range. This regulation is vital because even slight deviations from the norm can disrupt cellular functions and metabolic processes. Enzymatic reactions, for example, operate efficiently within a specific temperature range, and temperatures too far or above or below this range can lead to enzyme denaturation or reduced activity, affecting overall bodily functions, and can eventually lead to death. The animal kingdom exhibits two primary strategies for thermoregulation. We have the ectotherms and endotherms. Ectotherms are often referred to as cold-blooded animals, depending largely on environmental heat sources to regulate their body temperatures. These organisms, which include most reptiles and amphibians, adjust their behaviors, such as basking in the sun or seeking shade to control their body heat. On the other hand, endotherms generate most of their body heat through internal metabolic activities. This group includes mammals, and birds, known as warm-blooded animals, which possesses physiological adaptations that allow them to maintain a constant body temperature regardless of external temperature variations. And I know this might seem random for the MCAT, but I have seen questions asking me about, is a reptile cold-blooded or not? So this is definitely important for the exam. Now let's do a quick deep dive into the mechanisms of heat transfer. The transfer of heat between animals and their surrounding is governed by four principal mechanisms. We've got radiation, convection, evaporation, and radiation, as shown here in the picture as the heat from the coil, involves the emission from heat from a surface of one object to another without direct contact. So we see the person's holding the pot, it's not touching the ground, but there's still heat coming off from it, and this heat is bringing energy to the pot. Evaporation involves the emission of heat from the surface of one object. Evaporation of water from the skin or respiratory surfaces allow animals to dissipate heat. In the diagram on the right, we show this by just a little wave coming off of this lady's leg, saying she is sweating, the sweat is evaporating, cooling her down. Next, we have convection. Convection circulates heat through fluids or gases, while conduction involves direct transfer of heat upon contact with another surface, as shown here. These mechanisms work together in a finely tuned balance to ensure that animals can efficiently regulate their body temperature, adapting to both internal metabolic changes and external environmental pressures. Really important for homeostasis. In clinical practice, accurately measuring and understanding body temperature is crucial for diagnosing and managing a range of conditions. Various techniques are used, each with its specific application and level of accuracy. For instance, the pulmonary artery catheter, though invasive, provides the most precise core body temperature readings. It is really only used in a critical care settings. Less invasive methods that you're probably familiar with are known as tympanic, ear, or oral thermometers. They offer more convenience but may be less accurate under certain conditions. Understanding these methods' advantages and limitations is essential for your future career as a doctor and even a couple rare MCAT questions. Let's go over a couple example problems, starting with one. Let's say an ectothermic animal such as a lizard is observed in its natural habitat. The lizard alternates between basking in the sun to absorb heat and retreating to shaded areas to avoid overheating. I want you to analyze the behavioral adaptations of ectotherms in thermoregulation and discuss how these strategies impact the lizard's metabolic rate and survival. Do this just by yourself, alone in a room, or with a partner if you have one. Now that you've had some time to do this, I'll tell you what my discussion would have been. Ectotherms, like lizards, employ behavioral adaptations to regulate their body temperature in response to environmental changes. Basking in the sun allows these animals to absorb heat, increasing their body temperature to optimize metabolic processes essential for daily activities and digestion. When temperatures become too high, lizards seek to shade or burrow into cooler ground to prevent overheating, which can lead to enzyme denaturation and metabolic dysfunction. These thermoregulatory behaviors directly impact a lizard's metabolic rate and survival. In cooler temperatures, the metabolic rate slows, reducing energy expenditure and conserving resources. Conversely, warming up in the sun speeds up metabolic processes, enabling the lizard to be more active, hunt, and escape predators efficiently. This delicate balance between energy conservation and optimal metabolic functioning highlights the critical role of behavioral thermoregulation in ectotherm survival and reproductive success. Now, on to example 2. Imagine we have a patient with a fever of 39 Celsius or 102 Fahrenheit. This indicates the body's response to infection. Discuss with yourself or someone else the physiological mechanisms behind fever production, its effect on enzyme activity, and the body's subsequent thermoregulatory responses aimed at returning to normothermia. You can take a guess at what that means. Hopefully you've paused and had a few moments to talk about example 2. Here's my answer. A fever is a sign the body's immune system is activating to infection. The hypothalamus, which acts as the body's thermostat, raises the set point for the body temperature in response to pyrogens released by immune cells. This increases the set point, which leads to various physiological responses aimed at raising body temperature, including shivering, increased metabolism, and vasoconstriction to reduce heat loss. Fever impacts enzymatic activity by speeding up metabolic reactions, aiding the immune system in fighting off the infection more effectively. However, if the fever is too high, it can lead to protein denaturation, including enzymes, disrupting cellular functions and potentially causing damage. To return to normothermia, the body employs thermoregulatory responses once the infection begins to subside. This is kind of the opposite of what caused hypothermia. They include vasodilation to increase heat loss to the skin, sweating to cool the body via evaporation, and a decrease in metabolic rate to reduce heat production. Thermoregulation is an intricate and fascinating subject, central to the study of homeostasis and absolutely vital for understanding the broader mechanisms that underpin animal physiology, which you need to know for the MCAT. By delving into the strategies organisms use to regulate their internal temperature, you will be better prepared for the biochem sections of your MCAT. Thank you so much for watching our video on thermoregulation and homeostasis, and I will see you next time.